Hello my friends and welcome back to my channel. I'm testing HDR in Atomfall, and the good news is, yes, we have HDR. The bad news is it is again more or less Auto HDR implementation, but we're talking about this in detail more. I'm testing the game on the Xbox Series X, and in regards of HDR, all the other platforms should or will behave very similar. So let's talk about HDR in this game. And as always, first things first, this game does not support the HDR system level calibration on the Xbox Series X, but I'm pretty sure the same counts for the PlayStation 5 version and also the PC version. And the first thing what I discovered is that the maximum peak brightness in this game is limited up to 1000 nits, at least on the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X. I'm pretty sure that on the PC we will have additional options to increase the maximum peak brightness. And the only setting what we have in the game to change the picture is the brightness setting. This setting is responsible for the average picture brightness, but it can also help to increase shadow visibility. So let's take a closer look on the HDR black level floor, and I found that in this game we're talking about reference quality. And even increasing the brightness setting slightly, and I found that 75 should be the absolute maximum, because then you really start to increase the HDR black level floor. But if you just increase the brightness slightly, you will still maintain a really good contrast. And now let's take a closer look on the HDR implementation in this game in regards of maximum peak brightness or brightness in general. And I have activated the heat map, and what you can see here in violet or purple, that means actually maximum peak brightness, which is in this case 1000 nits. And when we're now looking at the heat map, I like to see a lot of brightness steps, and this is the case here. It's not as detailed as many other games, but hey, we're talking about maximum peak brightness of 1000 nits, and I'm pretty sure we're just looking at our Auto HDR implementation, but this is fine because we can see we have a lot of different colors here on the heat map, and that means we have a lot of different brightness steps. And that also means we can see that HDR is actually working pretty well in this game, at least up to 1000 nits. And when we're looking at the same picture without heat map enabled, we can actually see that the HDR implementation makes a really good impression. I mean, the picture in general is very bright. I'm using HGHG at the moment. There's no need for me on the LG G4 to use dynamic tone mapping on. And yeah, the downside when you use dynamic tone mapping on is you will have even more clipping in specular highlights. So again, in regards of specular highlights and peak brightness, the only downside on the PlayStation 5, Xbox and PC for the moment is that we have a maximum peak brightness just up to 1000 nits, which of course for the LG G4 is just not enough. I would like to have more, but again, I mentioned this already, on the PC, I'm pretty sure on the PC we will have mods, we will have additional options to increase the maximum peak brightness. And now the question of course is, what about HDR colors? And everything what you can see here in gray means SDR color range BT709. Everything what you can see in yellow is the DCI-P3 color range. And we have even a little bit of blue colors, but this is most likely because it's very dark. But we have some BT2020 color space in use. It's not a lot, but again, the game looks actually pretty nice. There's no need for having a more saturated or vivid color picture. And my summary for this game in regards of HDR is actually pretty straightforward. It does look nice. I would not recommend to play this game in SDR on a proper HDR screen, because there is no point actually to do that, because again, the HDR black level floor is spot on, and the only thing what is missing is actually a little bit of a higher peak brightness and specular highlights. But again, the contrast is just fantastic, and I'm pretty sure on the PC we have already a solution for the issue with the maximum peak brightness and specular highlights. So my recommendation is play this game in HDR on a proper HDR screen. Okay, my friends, so that's it already for this, I hope, very interesting video. I had fun playing this game, and I have to say I like games like that. I mean, there are some issues in regards of visual quality, not just on the Xbox Series X, so in general, but regardless of that, I mean, this game really, I mean, this makes fun, you know, to discover. Or anyway, I don't want to spoil it too much, but this is actually a game I like to dive in. Okay, so anyway, in regards of HDR, yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed again, but on the other hand, I'm happy as well because the HDR implementation is, at least when we looking at the HDR black level floor, on a perfect level actually, okay, a reference level, because we have no issues with the HDR black level floor. But on the other hand, specular highlights like this, and I mentioned this already, I mean, first of all, they're not specular enough and they're not bright enough. But again, I'm pretty sure on the PC version, we are getting some mods, or we have options to actually change this in regards of the peak brightness, okay? Anyway, this game looks fantastic. One more thing, please like, share, and subscribe. And yeah, I see you guys next time. Bye.